Hello there and welcome to another edition of Hashtag Now Smoking Classic Edition. I'm Gary Korb, Executive Editor for CigarAdvisor.com, and today we've got a real classic. It is the Avo XO Intermezzo. And joining me today, and I believe it's his first time smoking the Intermezzo, is my colleague, Jared Gulick. Jared, welcome.
Thank you, Gary. It's great to be here, man.
Good, good. And this is the first time you've had this particular cigar, correct?
It is, absolutely.
All right. Well, that's going to be exciting because I love these things. In fact, I had one last night, kind of get warmed up for the show. So let's just give a few stats on it, and we'll get moving along. As I said, it's the Avo XO Intermezzo. This is one of the oldest Avo lines from Davidoff. It's a 5x50 Robusto. It is, I guess you'd say medium strength, maybe even a little less than medium, but
okay,
for the most part. The wrapper is an Ecuadorian Connecticut shade, which they use a lot. And the binder and filler are Dominican. And they didn't specify what Dominican tobaccos, but usually it's Piloto Cubano and some or, you know, that kind of thing.
I heard there was 6 leaves, right? There's 6 different leaves in the filler.
Well, they do use a lot of leaves in the Avos. I know the Avo Classic has like 6 or 7, but right. This one is just, it's got a beautiful color to it. Have you cut yours yet? Or
I have, and we were talking about that a little bit before, but look how perfect these cut, man. This is so nice. Like no problems, you know?
I've never had I shouldn't say this, but I guess, you know, this is my experience. I've never had a Davidoff cigar that didn't clip the cap perfectly. The caps on their cigars, for some reason, are just...
I've heard that from a couple people, but inevitably you're going to get 20 comments. Oh, it happens to me every time.
That's why I almost didn't want to say it, because, you know.
Right.
But it's got a nice color to it, like kind of an ochre color, and I love the band. I love the Avo logo. It's pretty nicely packed. How's yours in terms of the packing there? It's really nice.
No soft spots. No soft spots. Slightly veiny, but I like that in a cigar. I like the. For some reason, I like to feel texture. You know, like I don't like super smooth cigars that much. But and actually, if you really look close for a Connecticut, there's even a tiny bit of tooth on this. You know.
Well, it could be something to do with the Ecuador shade that they grow.
Yeah.
But let me do my cap. Actually, the caps, I also notice, are a little, not a Cuban style flat cap, but a little flatter. So let's see how mine does. All right, I got it going in the right direction. Oh my God, look at that. Let me get it out of the, hold on. Got to get it out of the cutter first. All right. See if I can hold it up. But that's pretty damn good. It's
a little blurry. Back it up a little bit.
All right. It's nice. Perfectly round, and it just, well, it probably is a better example to look at this. It just came right off. You know, I mean, it's great. So let's see how the cold draw is. No, I'm getting kind of like they're very nutty. I noticed, you know, it's kind of a nutty flavor.
Yeah, almost. I get what you're saying with the nuts. Like, there's like it's got that like nutty like savoriness to it. But I almost get a little bit of like I don't want to get all like nerdy about it, but it tastes a little bit of Fig Newton, like Fig Newton on that. Like just the cookie, not the filling, just the cookie.
Okay. I'm also getting kind of like a woody note off it, and on my sample last night, it was almost like a raisiny taste.
Okay.
Sort of like a dried fruit kind of thing, but definitely like a raisiny.
Fig and raisins, that's same ballpark. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, anyway, let's light her up.
All right.
Okay.
Well, this is toasting really nice too. Sometimes when I'm lighting a Connecticut, they tend to be very easy to burn because Connecticut is so delicate. You know? But this one, I'm not having any of those issues.
Yeah, it's really, and I've had this in my humidor for a couple of weeks now. Mm. Oh, wow. I just love this cigar. Full disclosure, I've been smoking these for years. It's one of the reasons I picked this cigar. It's just so good.
But
Right off the get-go.
it is a classic though, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
So what initial flavors were you getting? You said you got a little bit of kind of like a woody, nutty taste?
a lot of wood from actually lighting up. Kind of figgy on the pre-light, but very, very woody, and
Yeah.
actually a lot spicier than I anticipated. I'm not going to say it's spicy because it's not, but a lot more body to it, a lot more. Here's a good word: a lot more texture to the smoke than your typical Connecticut. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's something about this blend that it's like a medium bodied. It's very, very creamy,
Yeah.
but it has a lot of flavor, and I just really enjoyed it. The one I had last night was just like fantastic, and this one's off to a good start too.
Yeah, this is
So
excellent.
now that we've got that settled, let's see what happens when we get down to the first inch. Oh yeah, we are down into the first inch, and Jared, this has just been great, just as I expected. How's yours doing?
I will tell you, I'm really surprised because I think if you didn't tell me what this was and I was blindfolded or something, I wouldn't have known that this is a Connecticut wrap.
Really?
Because to me, this has got a lot of similarities almost to like Cameroon, like how Cameroon is very woody and sweet, you know?
Yeah.
It's got that. It doesn't have, and I don't want to scare people off saying this, it doesn't have, at least yet, it doesn't have the creaminess that Connecticut often has, but it's still a very smooth cigar. There's nothing harsh about it. There's nothing bitey about the cigar. It's extremely smooth, but there's a kind of a dryness to its flavor. Like I said, very woody, very, very sweet.
Yeah, the finish is a little bit on the dry side. I never really even picked that up until you mentioned it. That's true.
And it's fragrant. It is extremely fragrant. I'm almost getting like, as I smoke it, almost in the background, there's like this little bit of like floral, like kind of essence in the background. It reminds me kind of like of a Cuban, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, like it has like kind of an herbal, floral quality to it, and the aroma. I mean, that's one thing too about Avo cigars. Like they like anything made by Davidoff, you know, they really try to hit all the senses, you know.
Yes.
And the aroma on this is. I'm going to tell you something about the cigar later, but that Avo told me himself some years ago. But before we get into some more of the flavors, let's talk a little bit about Avo cigars. Your name for a gentleman, if you don't know who he is, his name was Avo Uvezian. He passed away on March 24th, 2017 at the age of 91. He died 2 days after his birthday, anything like that.
Oh.
And for those who may not know, also, he was a internationally renowned musician. He was a jazz pianist. He was an arranger, a composer. I guess he's most famous for writing the melody "Strangers in the Night," which he sued, I think, Frank Sinatra over something, and you know, I think
everybody sues everybody over music these days, you know.
But anyway, and he was a terrific guy. I met him a few times over the years at the trade shows, and he even came to Famous many years ago when we were in the old location, and I brought in my piano. I had a Roland FP3, and I brought it in for him to play. And I had him autograph it for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it faded over the years, and I sold it eventually. But during the 1980s, Avo lived in Puerto Rico. He had an interesting career. He was the orchestra leader. He lived in the Middle East for a long time. He's Lebanese ethnically, and was living in Puerto Rico. And he owned this restaurant, and he had a piano bar, and he was the musical act there. And he would keep these cigars on his piano, so they always had one in reach. And then he met Hendrik Kelner, who said, "Look, I'd like to make a cigar for you, to keep at your piano." So he made these cigars just for him. They were called Bolero, and I think they even sold them. And they were sold in San Juan or something. And 1987, they became full-time partners. They hit it off. They were very good friends. And they changed the name to Avo. And then a year later, they debuted them at the Davidoff store in New York City, the famous Davidoff location that was in the heart of the city. And the brand went national. And by 1995, they were a cigar boom favorite. So you have that. And then Davidoff bought the distribution rights, and they're made in the Dominican Republic. Hendrik Kelner is still in charge of, production. And then in 2000, they started releasing these limited edition series, the LEs, as they call them. And these were to honor Avo's birthday. So they would come out like March 22nd, about that time every year. And these are probably the most boutique-y and probably complex Avo cigars, these limited editions. And the LE05, the Avo 22 LE05 was, instant classic, and it became Avo's personal favorite of all those anniversary releases. And what's interesting is I met him at a show once, and I was talking about the LE05, and he said he had bought all the remaining boxes. It's like hundreds of boxes. And they were in, I guess, in his warehouse somewhere. I don't know.
He's a guy that he's one of the biggest regrets that I never got to meet him, because everyone I've ever talked to who's had, even a 5-minute conversation with him has talked about just how he was really a humble guy, Yeah,
he was.
He didn't talk, he didn't talk himself up. And in all the interviews I've ever seen with him, even a couple, of yours that you've done with him, he was just, he was just a class act. And I wish I could have met him. It's something I, like I said, I regret, but I got into the cigar game a little later than most people, I guess you could say, but, fast learner.
Well, at the trade show, they'd have the Avo Lounge. Davidoff made this Avo Lounge. He would perform just like I guess he did, wherever in Puerto Rico, wherever. And he would, sometimes he had a trio with him, sometimes he'd play by himself. And he was great. He just loved performing. And anyway, but several years ago, Davidoff wanted to market Avo to a new audience, a younger audience, more like upwardly mobile, young, hip. So, they updated the logo a little bit. They changed the marketing. They used his silhouette instead of his face, So it's pretty cool. And the brand has just remained at the top, top of its game. They have the Avo Synchro Nicaragua. They got into these Nicaragua blends.
There's a lot that the brand Avo can teach, newer cigar smokers. And that is,
okay,
the first time I ever saw their band, first of all, I just want to say, I think they, we're not supposed to be partial, but I think they probably have the best looking band in the industry.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. And the reason for that is because the first time that I laid eyes on Avo cigars, I looked at them and I said, I probably can't afford this.
Yeah.
Because it looked high end. And the thing that I realized as, I grew and kind of molded into, the cigar lifestyle is that now what I consider them to be is affordable luxury, because they're not too high priced. Some of them stretch into the super premium territory, but they're still an approachable price. But if looks could kill, man, this band, like I said, and that was my first impression was, wow, this is a cigar I won't be able to afford. It just looked that good,
But look at that beautiful ash. I mean, it's just everything about this cigar. That's why I consider it a classic. And speaking of price, though, I mean, this cigar is no slouch. It has an MSRP of $11.40. So it's up there. You buy a box, you get down to the $10 plus range, but it's definitely definitely $10 cigar in every way.
I mean, I'd pay more than 10 for something like this.
I think I would too.
I walked into this blind and I didn't know what to expect, and so far I'm more, I'm way more impressed than I anticipated being.
Well, I'll tell you, I just lopped off the ash there. It gave me a little resistance, so it's a very good ash, very firm.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. What flavors are you getting before we get into our next act?
Still woody, still spicy. I'm actually starting to pick up a little bit of like, it's weird, almost like it's not raisin or anything, but it's just this kind of like dried fruit, almost like trail mixy flavor, you know?
Oh my God, I can't believe you said that.
Why?
You stole my thunder.
I'm sorry. I
Because
didn't
I
mean to
had a
do
note here. I said,
unscripted, folks. I swear. Unscripted.
that's right. We not rehearsed this. I have a note. I have it right here. I said under my primary flavor notes. I said it's like trail mix in this cigar.
You can see I wrote it down. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, there you go. I'm serious. Anyway, isn't that funny? Because it does have a lot of like a nutty quality. There's some sweet fruit, dry fruit.
Yeah.
I'm
not getting
a
so
little
much
brown
the nuts.
sugar maybe.
I'm not getting so much the nuts. It's still a little dry, but I've noticed it's starting to get gradually a little bit more creamy. Gradually, like it's kind of hard to put, to explain a gradual creaminess, but it started out smooth, but it's just now it's like you're putting that 1,000 grit on there and even sanding it down even further. That's kind of what it's like,
Yeah, it's just very, very balanced and very creamy. And I guess Act 1 was a hit. So let's see what happens when we get down to the middle stage. All right, we're back and we are ready for Act 2 in the Avo XO Intermezzo. This is our classic cigar for the month. And I got to tell you, look at that ash on mine and look at Jared's. Just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Last night, there were only 3 ashes left in the ashtray. That was it. They're all nice little nuggets. Fantastic. Also, the Avo XO, I believe XO means extra old.
Right.
Jared,
right.
You can confirm that. All right. So, and I think it's a fact. All of the tobaccos used in Avo cigars are very long age. I think, 6 years, Jared? Something like that?
At least. Well, I don't know about every Avo, but I think for this blend, at least, all of the tobaccos are at least 6 years of age. And whether that includes the wrapper or not, I'm not sure. But I know for a fact for the filler components, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is definitely one of the creamiest cigars you'll ever smoke. And you know what? I'm getting a lot of like that herbal kind of thing. I think we talked about trail mix. It's kind of it's got that kind of character to it where there's just a lot going on, but it's not strong or anything. It's it's medium bodied, but there's a lot of flavor in here.
It's so rare. And I mean, you hit it on the head of exactly how I'm feeling about this, that, usually, and I stress usually because there are some exceptions to the rule like Avo XO, where usually when you're smoking a cigar, if it has a lot of flavor, that tends to come from stronger tobaccos. It's just, you get what you put into it, right?
Right.
But every once in a while, you have an expert blender who is able to take some milder tobaccos and do something really magical with them. And this is a case study on that. Absolutely.
I'm just having it with, iced coffee again today because it's a hot day and it's actually going great. What do you think you'd pair it with? Are you drinking anything today with it? I didn't see anything, but
I'm not. But I decided to do a little bit of an experiment, and classy me with the red cup. I don't have any glasses up here yet, but I have some George Dickel rye whiskey.
Really?
Which at first I thought would maybe overpower the cigar. And when we were all talking about it off camera in the beginning, we were thinking that might overpower it. But I'm actually getting some spice and even a little bit of pepper off of this. Again, it's still very smooth. So maybe it'll actually be a good pair. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to give me some background filler, I'm gonna put a little bit in my cup here and see how it does.
I do want to say something about this cigar that Avo told me himself when I met him some years ago at one of the shows. Now, most people that are familiar with the brand know that he loved the LEO 5. Okay, that was, like I said, he bought up the remaining boxes before. I think they eventually put it out again. But he told me that this XO Intermezzo, the size, this line, this was his favorite everyday cigar. He smoked this every day. He just loved the cigar. He liked a lot of his stuff, obviously. We used to talk about the Maduro line too, but this was his pick. And I can understand why. I could smoke this every day too. It's just that, it's just that good. It's just that balance. It's just got so much. It's relaxing, you know. So we ready for the rye yet, there, Jared? What's going on?
Yeah, I just took a sip of it, and jury's not out yet. So give me a second here. I'm going to be honest, okay?
Of course, you're always honest.
This was one for the
experiment. That's why we like you on the show.
I think it's. I think it's burying the cigar a little bit. I think it is burying it a little bit.
Okay.
But it's the whiskey is great. I'm gonna have some more.
All right, we'll stay out of the sun with that. All right. But it's burning perfectly.
Yes.
You know, I want to ask you about you know, we've been talking about all these great flavors. Would you say it's complex?
Yes, I would. I would say it's complex. I would say
a weird way.
there's more than a handful going on, and it's not complex like other cigars are complex. It's not like I got 6 or 7 different flavors here. I probably have just 3. But what sometimes complexity for me is just that it kind of evolves over time, and this has not stayed exactly the same for more than 2 or 3 minutes.
Really?
All the changes have been good, but it's got sometimes I'm getting a little bit more wood, sometimes I'm getting a little bit more spice. Just most recently I got a little pepper, which again, a Connecticut and pepper, that is not something you see every day, you know? But somehow throughout all this, it's maintaining this smoothness that we keep talking about. For you, it's a little bit more creamy. But for me, it's just, it's so easy going and easy to smoke. And you get so much flavor with no kick. And it's really incredible.
Have you retrohaled it yet?
Yeah. Retro is where I'm getting most of the pepper, but I'm also getting all those floral notes off of it too. It's really nice.
Let me see if I can get some going here. No, I didn't get any peppery. It was actually kind of smooth.
Are you almost to the band?
I'm getting down there. I mean, this thing is actually burning a little faster, I think, because I have a fan on, and that's probably
I was going to say, mark this on the calendar, because Professor Gary Korb is smoking faster than me today.
But I'm really not. I mean,
right.
I just love the cigar. So I think it pairs with anything. Okay, so it didn't work with what you have, but I think it'd be great with a mixed drink like a Manhattan or a mojito, something light. And, I kind of think of this as almost like a summery cigar,
Yeah, I've talked about this before. Like if you're of the beer persuasion, something that has like a little bit of citrus peel in it. Like, for example, I've talked about it before, Sam Adams Summer Ale. I can't remember. There's a beer with an orange zest to it, and it's just escaping me now.
Blue Moon?
Yes, Blue Moon. Yes, it has like a little bit of orange peel kind of taste to it. Like that would be like very good with it. But I agree with you that any type of sweet mixed drink would be really good with this. Yeah. And coffee too.
Yeah, and it's great in the morning. It's just a great kick back and enjoy cigars, is what I call it. Let me ask you a question. Now, not all cigars go what I call sour in the last stack, but when a cigar kind of gets bitter on you, do you stop and say, all right, enough, or do you just stay with it?
That's a good question. If it's a new cigar, I keep going, because I do. I keep going because sometimes cigars have a spot or two that are bitter and at some point, and then it changes, and the only way you're ever going to know is if you smoke it all the way. Now, if it's going bitter and it's staying bitter for like 20, 30 minutes, I'm done, but I want to give it a little bit of a chance, to try to, work itself out. But if it's a cigar I know, and it goes like, you know, some cigars I smoke halfway through, some I smoke 3/4, some I smoke to the nub. It just depends on the blend. So, but if it goes bitter and I've smoked it before, I'm done. So.
Yeah, you know, this is the only negative I have about, you know, this type of cigar, you know, like a Connecticut, and even with some of the Avos, is that they tend to get a little bit bitter at the end. And I think it's just the nature really of Connecticut tobacco, because I've talked to a couple of guys about that, some of the blenders that we know, and you know, they say, yeah, it's just the nature of the leaf. You know, I mean, you really have to ferment Connecticut, like, you know, really, you know, a lot to really get all that out of it. And this leaf's holding up really nice, actually. So, I mean, I could put it down now and say it was a great cigar, you know?
Oh, I could too.
I'm going to keep going.
I think even for, what did you say, it was almost $10.50 a cigar? I think if I got...
Yeah, I mean, over the counter maybe, but the MSRP is like 11 and change. It's, you know, it's not cheap.
Yeah. And the fact that also, this is a Robusto size, 5x50, and I've gotten in 45 minutes out of it to get to the halfway mark. Usually with most Robustos, I'm done by 45 minutes. So I think that's also a testament to its construction, how well it's, you know, to me, the longer a cigar burns, the better it's crafted.
I agree with you. All right. Well, on that note, let's see what happens when we get down to that last third. All right. Welcome back to hashtag Not Smoking Classic Edition. Jared and I are here with the Avo XO Intermezzo, and I'm down into the final act. I'm almost at the band, and it has just been great. I really had a great little cone going here before I, you know, missed it. But it is just smoking perfectly. It is definitely what I call, and I don't do that often, it's a perfect cigar. It's just, everything is going great with this thing. I'm going to try to take the band off.
I don't ever like to say perfect, because I think there's always room for everything for improvement. But I would agree with you in the sense that this is as close to perfect as I think I've had in a long time in a cigar. This is pretty on point, and I don't. There's really been no downside. Oh, look, you got the band off. I'm getting there, Gary. I'm catching up to you.
It's nice thick paper too. It's a really good band.
I've actually heard a lot of people talk about how difficult the bands are to get off on Avos because of that. People say that it's difficult to get them off.
Well, I did have a little snag, but you can watch my video on cigaradvisor.com about how to remove a band.
Shameless plug.
I mean, mine is still very creamy, really smooth. I'm getting a lot of nice sweetness still out of it. I kind of slowed down a little bit. I mean, the fan is fighting me here, but it's just really been delicious from the get-go.
Yeah, it's uncanny how it's counterintuitive how flavorful this is. I still, even though I know I'm looking at a Connecticut wrapper, I can't believe that it's a Connecticut wrapper. I just can't. You know, there is that level of creaminess there that tells you it's Connecticut, but your brain is tasting all these things. You're like, this is more complex than a Connecticut. And I love that. I love that when something, you smoke a cigar like this that makes you change your perception forever on what something can be. And that's exactly what this is.
But you know what? I was saying that, you know, I smoked this line in several sizes, and it's pretty consistent in terms, even the flavor profile for all the different sizes. Like I went back to see what I wrote about the Maestoso, I think it's called, the 7x48. It's the Churchill. This was in our buying guide. And I said the pre-light was kind of cedary, nutmeg, and sweet spice, which is pretty similar. The first few puffs were creamy, woody, and nutty, which we got today, right? And the base flavors were cedar, nutmeg, sweet spice. I don't know, I got some roasted coffee bean in that one, I guess, and toasted almonds. So maybe that's the nutty. It's an almond kind of, or a hazelnut almost kind of a thing, you know.
You know what? Maybe there is. Now that you say almond, it might be the power of suggestion, but I kind of get that, like, that grape nuts almond thing. Like, that's kind of what it, you know, I don't want to be like the nerd who's like pulls out the obscure tasting note, but it's a little like with the dried fruit and that it's almost like a really light grape nut, you know?
Okay,
Like
yeah.
the cereal, you know? But
Mhm.
it's just, you know, I can't rave about it enough. One thing I wanted to try though is while we were off camera, I dropped an ice cube in here.
On the rye.
And yeah,
Mhm.
so as many of you probably know, but for those of you who don't,
Mhm.
you know, if you have a spirit that's a little bit stronger, you can drop an ice cube in there and it's going to mellow it out because it dilutes
Mhm.
the alcohol. So
Right.
I'm going to try that now and
Okay.
see if it's a little bit more complimentary to the cigar. So
Salud.
it's so embarrassing doing this with a solo cup. I feel like such a heathen.
Jared, I have glassware I could give you. I so much stuff. I don't even use.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, great.
So
Okay,
if you can go out here, I'll show it again. If you can go out and find this, this is George Dickel Rye whiskey, charcoal mellowed, 90 proof. And if you drop an ice cube in there, I would say give it about 5 minutes. Let the ice cube melt a little bit into there. You only need one, just one ice cube. And it is a completely different pairing.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Well, you know, sometimes people like I said, they'll put a little club soda or even distilled water or, you know, spring water in their bourbon or brandy just to kind of, you know, open it up a little bit. So I guess the same thing can be said for the rye. So that's good. I'm glad you like it now because that's great.
It adds almost like this little bit of like, it almost adds some like banana. Like I'm getting a little bit of banana notes off of the rye, you know? So,
oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
All right. Well, I tell you, this is just it's really hanging in there beautifully. It's been consistent all the way through.
Absolutely.
So who's the cigar for? Let's wind it down here. Who would you suggest the cigar?
Anybody who's got $10.50. I'm not even kidding. Like it doesn't matter if you're new, if you've been smoking for 50 years, you've been smoking for 5 minutes. This is a cigar that you could easily jump into with no experience and get a lot out of. But you're also, like I said, we do this for a living, and I'm getting a lot out of it. So yeah. I don't really think there's many people who wouldn't enjoy the cigar. And even if you're one of those people who, for whatever reason, you don't prefer Connecticut's, still try this because to me, it's not super Connecticut-y, like for lack of a better term. It doesn't have a lot of the Connecticut, bitterness or earthiness, I would say, Yeah.
Well, the way I discovered it was, I like the Avo Classic. So I got introduced to that first because, Famous Smoke Shop is a appointed Davidoff retailer. So,
right.
they would always be coming in, with samples and things. And we had this fellow who worked for us, worked for Davidoff rather. And he always had samples and stuff. So I tried the Avo Classic, and that's real good. That's real creamy. It's much lighter than this, but it's very good, very smooth, very like the quintessential Avo, I guess you could say. And then I went into the Maduro, but the Maduro was not as sweet as I liked it. And in fact, Avo even once told me that. He says he doesn't like his Maduro too sweet, so that's why it's that way. But then I discovered the XO, and I went, oh my God, this is really something. And then when I told you how I met him, and he told me that it was really his favorite, which is interesting because this is a bit sweeter than that Maduro, but he loves the cigar. So who the hell knows? But anyway, he will be missed. That's for sure. I should say he is missed.
Sorely missed.
Really great guy. And anyway, I guess the only other thing I can say is that, I'll agree with you. This is for anybody, a starter, this could even be a great first cigar. I know it's a little high in price, but maybe second or third cigar, it's just really, really good. I just haven't met anybody who doesn't like the cigar, even the guys that like the full bodied Nicaraguan, heavy stuff, So, all right, well.
That's because it tastes like it's full bodied, even though it's not,
It's full flavored, right?
Full flavored. Right.
That's what I like to say. It's full flavored.
Yeah. If someone said, "Hey, there's Nicaraguan fillers in here," I wouldn't have second guessed them for a second. It's got a little bit of attitude in its flavor without kicking you in the gut or kicking you in the, like I'm not lightheaded or anything like that. It's just a nice even smoke. all the way through.
All right. Well, anyway, I guess it's time we will wrap this up. Any final thoughts, or that's pretty much it?
Buy it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pick some up.
Yeah, this is humidor worthy. I was actually looking around today to see if how many were available, because I think I'm in for a 5-pack on these for sure, at the very least, So
yeah.
And they're also on Cigar Auctioneer too. If you want to grab them at
you and I should split a box.
There, if you're lucky.
We should split a box, Gary. You and I.
I want the whole box for myself. No, but that's okay. All right. Well, anyway, I want to thank you, Jared, for coming on. Obviously you like the cigar. I'm glad you did. It was your first Avo XO, and I think hopefully you'll be coming back to the cigar.
I definitely will be.
Anyway, that you can buy Avo cigars at famous-smoke.com, and if you're on famous-smoke.com, don't forget we have a great free catalog, great deals in the catalog. Every page is just an amazing book. And of course, if you want to know about cigar advice and information and videos and all that, follow us at cigaradvisor.com, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and if you like this video, like it on YouTube, because we've got a lot of stuff on YouTube too. Sign up for our emails and our notifications, and I guess I covered just about everything on social media, right? So thanks for watching. Jared, thanks again. We'll see you next time on #NatSmoking, and happy smokes.